Okay. Welcome everyone. We are going to get started here shortly. However, we are having some technical difficulties on our end getting Mauricio connected here. He is going to be speaking to us from Costa Rica. So what I'm going to do is close the meeting and then reopen it. So I'm going to ask all of you to log back in about 2 minutes. Okay. Oh, actually, looks like Mauricio maybe has joined us here. There he is. Okay.
Finally.
There he is. He has joined us. Okay, so we can actually get started. Uh, Mauricio, thanks for joining us. And how's everything going in Costa Rica?
It's going well with a lot of rain. Have been raining a lot lately.
Okay. Well, you are in the rainforest, right?
Yes.
Okay, so before we get started, before I hand it over to Mauricio to get started, again, let me introduce myself. My name is Brooks Bonner. I am one of the admissions counselors with the Organization for Tropical Studies based at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. But we also, OTS, we have another main office in Costa Rica, in San Jose, and we have another office in South Africa in Kruger National Park. So Mauricio is talking to us. Mauricio, where are you today, actually?
In San Jose.
In San Jose. Okay, great. So yeah, he's going to be talking to us from there. Before we get started, I want to kind of go over how the question portion is going to go at the end of the talk. So if you are all using the Fuse software, you will go to the bottom right hand corner of your screen, and there should be three dots in your window. And if you take your cursor over those dots, it's going to say More Menu. If you click on it, it's going to give you a drop down list of a bunch of different options. Okay. If you see that, there's going to be an option there to raise your flag. Okay. When we get to the end of the talk and you do have a question, go ahead and select Raise Your Flag. It's going to notify me that you do have a question. I will unmute you and you can ask your question to Mauricio and the group as well. So everyone can hear your question as well as get the answer as well. So that will be at the end of the talk. Um, so without further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Mauricio to talk about OTS's. Again, this is for the Organization for Tropical Studies, Trop Talk on tropical biology on Changing Planet in Costa Rica, the semester study abroad program. Okay, Mauricio, take it away.
Thanks, Brooks. Thank you, everybody, for joining the meeting. This is we're going to talk about the tropical biology course tropical biology and the changing planet in Costa Rica. And the first question that everybody just asks is why Costa Rica? Well, Costa Rica is a really small country. Is you can It's less the West Virginia, but being a really small country, it has a really high diversity, and it's almost they have 4% all the diversity in the world. And being that small is a really remarkable that has that big diversity. It's a lot of different factors that make Costa Rica really diverse, and one is the biggest changes in elevation, and you have a lot of different life zones. And in the past, it was when Costa Rica was forming, it was a bridge between South America and North America. So we receive animals from and plants for South America and animals and plants for South America. And but it doesn't mean that much that we have all this diversity if we don't have the knowledge. And to acquire this knowledge, OTS has been a big part of this process, because in the 60s when OTS started, they bring a lot of different biologists, especially from the United States, start to come to Costa Rica and start to develop that knowledge. That after those students that arrive in those times, they came from professors and bring more students and bring uh, um, and, and stimulate the students to do the thesis here, and that generates a lot of knowledge. And that knowledge is what makes the difference, because we can talk about all the diversity that we have here in Costa Rica. Besides that, Costa Rica is really stable because we don't have an army. We abolished the army since 1948, and that makes Costa Rica different because all the money that normally countries will invest in the army, they will be invested in education and in conservation, in this case, in national parks. We will, during the course, we will try to visit a bunch of different places in Costa Rica, trying to cover all the diversity that we see here. And we will go first to tropical dry forest that is in Palo Verde National Park. OTS has a station inside the park that make the park a little bit different and a little bit different management. And is tropical dry forest is unique and is one of the most endangered biomes in the world because it's really easy to cut. So you wait just for the right season and you start a fire and you can remove all the vegetation from there. Or the wood is really precious, it's really good wood, and you can just cut it and sell it because it's very expensive. So there are really different uh, adaptations that they have, the plants and the animals, to survive the dry season. Um, the park is surrounded by sugarcane plantations and rice plantations, so they have an impact in the park. So when we are there, we will talk about all these impacts. After that, we'll go to the highlands, and it's another cool thing about Costa Rica. You can go from almost the sea level to 3,000 meters in 4 hours, and that makes all these changes really diverse in vegetation and animals. In there, we will talk about all the different adaptations that plants and animals have to survive in the cold. Even though you don't realize that this is the tropics, in the highlands you can get uh, really low temperatures, like almost 0 degrees Celsius at night. And sometimes you wake up and you will see frogs in the grass in front of the station. And after that, you will go for to study Spanish and in Homestead in Costa Rica, in San Jose. And in this semester, we're trying to separate a little bit the Spanish language, try to distribute during the semester. In that way, you have contact with Spanish more frequently. And after that, we'll go to Las Cruces. Las Cruces, middle elevation, is another OTS station. It's really close to the border in Panama, and it's started original as a garden. So it's really interesting because they brought a bunch of different plants from different parts of the world, and they have the biggest palm collection, one of the second biggest palm collection in the world that is alive. But besides that, after OTS acquired the station, OTS start to buy more land, and right now is a really good chunk of land in the middle elevation, and but it's the only forest that is left in the area because they have been developed as a coffee plantation and pasture lands. Just around the station, we will have a lot of coffee plantations and pasture lands. Is a really strong projects there going on in restoration ecology. So we will talk about restoration, we'll talk about fragmentation, we'll talk about all these different impacts, and of course coffee, because coffee has been a really important industry for Costa Rica. After that, again, we will go to the to back to San Jose to your homestay and your break, and after we'll go to Monteverde. Monteverde is in the cloud forest. Is a really nice area. It's a really different because it's like to live in the clouds. And there we'll talk a lot about frogs because the day that the started to talk about frog decline, it was produced in Monteverde. A group of people there started to see the decline because they were doing a project in that moment and start to publish papers about that. And after that, we'll go to Boca del Toro, Panama. And there's another cool thing. So this course it will go to Panama too, and in there is the marine site. The marine site, we're trying to talk about coral reefs, how they are being impacted by global warming, and all the different effects they have for pollution and the humans' use of the reefs. And after that, we'll go to tropical wet forest. That is La Selva. It's another OTS station. And La Selva is really unique because it's the first station that OTS established. And they receive a lot of researchers and they produce a lot of papers every single year. It's a gorgeous forest, really exuberant, and you can see a lot of different animals. And during the whole time that we are just traveling around learning, you will see monkeys, you will see butterflies, you will see insects, you will see beetles, you will see a bunch of different animals. And every time that we see something like that, we'll stop and talk. The four different courses that we have is fundamentals of tropical biology, and um, and um, environmental science and politics in the tropics, and the field research and the cultural language. The fundamentals is just give the base, all the ecological basis for the course. And environmental is how the humans have been impacting, how they affect the different decisions. And the field research is one of my favorite parts, is because we have a bunch of different invited professors that come during the course to do projects, and the idea is like you receive a different perspectives for different people, in they are specialized in different topics. And this semester in particular, we have people working with frogs and working with lizards, people working with birds, people working with coral reefs, and there's all of them just give you a more in-depth perspective of what they feel, and they will do a project with the students, and it's normally a project that they already have an idea, a ecological question that they want to answer. In immersing all these projects, we have some long-term projects and projects that we try to develop, collecting data every single year. Um, and the idea is to generate enough information to eventually just suggest something to the farmers or to the parks that we visit. The most interesting part is the student-driven projects. That's also the projects that the students will have to go through the whole process. That thinking about the idea, ecological question that they can answer, thinking about the methodology, thinking about how they are going to analyze the data, present the project to the community as a poster presentation, uh, and write a paper, a scientific paper. During the whole process, you will be working really closely with the professors, because the professors will help you with that. And uh, and um, and the students in the past have been working with a bunch of different things. We're working with frogs, working with ants, working with herbivory, working with pollination. Uh, it's a really variable, and all the topics that have been covered in the student and reading projects. Um, and for me, it's really interesting because I think that's the part that I learned a lot, because the students will come up with ideas that are really, really unique. And even if they come up with idea that somebody already working on some extent, the perspectives the students have is just what it makes a difference. This is a really different course for any course that you are used to in the in your college, because this is a field-based program. So every time that we talk about something in the class, we will go to the field and try to see it. We talk about fragmentation, we'll go into the fragments and see really the fragments. We talk about restoration ecology, we'll go and see restoration projects. If we talk about coffee, we'll go and see the coffee farms and talk to the farmers that deal with the coffee production every single day, and that will give you the opportunity to just really receive the knowledge from the base, from the people that is working with all these different uh, crops. For me, one highest points of the program is that you are in really close contact with invited professors and with farmers and with the professors. And the professors, we are with you all the time. And every time that you have a question, you can answer it directly. And over any topic, it can be sobre biology, it can be sobre politics, it can be over coffee production, sugarcane production, anything, because we are there all the time. And you will learn a lot about the tropics. You will learn about a lot about Costa Rica, because we are here, and you will learn from a lot of different people that come to the program to visit as a professor, and by professors or farmers, or your own classmates, because every person has a different perspective, because they come from different parts of the United States, and they have a different perspective for different topics, and that's a really important. All this program, all this knowledge is going to be in biological stations. We're not going to be in really touristic areas. We're going to be just waking up with a howler monkeys calling, or waking up with cicadas, or with the insects calling. And we're going to have the forest really close. We can walk in the forest anytime, and we're going to see a bunch of different animals and plants, and learn about their biology. And one of the most important things for me in this course is like you're going to learn about yourself. because at the end of the program, after we pass for all these different things, you will learn a lot about yourself. Um, okay, I think that's it. That's what I have. Oh, that's true. I looking at the slide and I just talking about the research projects. We have a bunch of different long-term projects and some coffee plantations, some talking about parasites in frogs, another one in Palo Verde, that's the dry forest. We talking about the one species that is really endangered in the area and is reproducing really well there, but we don't know why and how. And a marine project that's working with the reefs. And those are the long-term projects that we have in the course. Do you have
Okay.
any questions?
Okay, great. Yeah, so thank you, Mauricio. I want to open it up to questions at this time. I can attest to being woken up by howler monkeys, especially at La Selva. They tend to get started pretty early too. So no matter how early you set your alarm clock, I guarantee you they're going to be earlier than that. But yeah, let's go ahead, open it up to questions. So again, when you do have a question there, raise your flag. I'll unmute you, and you can get your question posed to the group and to Mauricio. Again, lower right-hand corner of your screen, and let's see. It looks like Caitlin has a question. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, Caitlin, are you
Okay. Can you hear me?
there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to ask about how many students are in the program each semester, and also what does a daily schedule look like during the program?
It's really variable, the number of students. And this semester we have 9 students. Uh, yeah, it's around 10, 12 students, what we have. And the schedule is normally breakfast is at 6:30 in the morning, and we start our activities at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. And normally we'll go to the field in the morning, looking for plants or looking for insects or looking for fragments or visiting the coffee farm. And the reason that we do it in the morning is because the normally it rains in the afternoon, and in the morning is less likely that rains. In the afternoon, we have 1 or 2 classes. Sometimes we have class in the evening, or we can do a night hike or do another activity, but it normally is something that is not really heavy, something more light. And that will end around 8:30 when we have it. No, we don't have it all every day, but we have it. And more or less every 8 or 10 days, you have a free day where you can do whatever you want. You can go on a hike in the forest, or you can normally it is a town close by. We organize trips to towns, and when we have a chance, and more or less that's the schedule.
Okay, perfect. And is there any sort of spring break, or is it just a continuous semester?
No, you have a spring break. You
Okay.
have when you're in San Jose receiving classes, Spanish classes, you have the
Mhm.
weekends off, and
Okay.
and you have a spring break or fall break. That's a week that you can travel by yourself wherever you want to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
that spring break is a week long, and students have the opportunity to travel to a different part of Costa Rica. Some students like to go down to Panama, or they'll go to San Jose, or they'll go to the mountains, check out the volcanoes. It's
Mhm.
really up to you. But if you're looking for ideas, Mauricio or some of us at OTS that have been there or can, are more than happy to share some ideas that previous students have done.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Um, One more question.
Sure.
Um, what is the estimated cost of the program?
So the costs and stuff, you can, if you want, you can send me an email, Caitlin, and I can give you a
Okay.
breakdown of the tuition estimates, additional costs, because it can vary from student to student. If you're planning to
Right.
travel a lot, but while you're with the program, all of your room and board is covered.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's see. I think looks like Gabriela has a question, or Gabrielle, excuse me. Let me get you unmuted here. Okay, Gabrielle, are you there?
Yeah, hi. So the name of the course is like Tropical Biology on a Changing Planet. So I was just wondering how much and in what ways climate change factors into the curriculum, and how we talk about that.
We have classes that we talk about climate change directly, but it's more like in every single site is we talk about how this crop or this forest are going to be affected by climate change. In the case for tropical dry forest, for example, is a really is in a debate right now because the plants in the tropical dry forest are really well adapted to extreme conditions. And for some people, they will say that they are not going to be affected, and some people say no, they are in the limit. They can't take any more changes and that they will collapse. So in that particular case, we'll talk about that. If in the tropical wet forest, we'll talk about how some animals are going to be affected. In cloud forest, how the animals' migrations are affecting that area because some predators that from the lowlands are going up the highlands. So it's more like a depending on every single ecosystem, we'll talk about how that's going to be affected, or the crops. In coffee, that I want to talk in the next week with the students that are here. Um, the people is thinking they're going to be really, really affected, but no, the crop directly is more like the pollinators are going to be affected. So they're going to affect. So we'll talk about, but that is how we immerse in every single, almost in every single topic that we talk, the climate change. And we have two classes that talks directly about climate change.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Good question, Gabrielle. Okay. All right. Anyone out there? Anyone else out there with a question for Mauricio? Looks like Melanie has a question. Okay. Melanie, go ahead. Are you there?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
hi there. I'm not sure if this was addressed. I tuned in a little bit late, but I was wondering how much Spanish we should know beforehand.
Good question. So there's no prerequisite for this program. However, there is a Spanish immersion component that is one of the four classes that's involved. If you don't know any Spanish, that's fine. But if you wanted to take if Duolingo, do a little practicing before you came, that would help you as well. But you'll also pick up a bunch while you're there. I don't know, Mauricio, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, and actually that we go and talk to the farmers. And the farmers don't speak English normally, and but always we translate. And what we say is like we don't require Spanish. It will be great if you have it. And during homestay, the students learn a lot because you have to live with the families. And from 9 to 3 o'clock, I think it is you are in classes in Spanish, and after you to go to your homestay, and part of the agreement is you have to talk in Spanish to your homestay families. So you pick up a lot, and I see people that they come out with some Spanish and they learned a little bit more, and some people that learned a lot. And I remember a case of a student 3 semesters ago that she was zero Spanish, but at zero that she almost couldn't say hola. And but she get really into learning more Spanish and more Spanish. And at the end, she was having a conversation, no really fluent conversation, but a conversation. She will make herself understood about what she wants. And for me, that was a really nice surprise that she put that much effort into learning. So it's a lot. Yeah, you have formal classes, and a lot depends on how much you wanna learn.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, and if I would add to that too, I think just speaking from personal experience, um, taking Spanish classes in a traditional classroom, and then being fully immersed in a Spanish program, um, your um, your knowledge and the amount that you learn, how quickly you learn the language is on a totally different level. So even if you come in, like Mauricio was saying, with a minimum amount of Spanish or zero Spanish, this is going to be the most effective way for you to improve your Spanish language skills.
Okay, perfect. I also wanted to ask about majors. So, do you find that most of the students who do this program are ES or bio majors?
Mauricio, do you have an opinion on that? I know I have an opinion, but
It's really variable. They are students that we have students as psychology majors. We had a student one time we have a chemistry student. We have one time a student that was a geology major. Um, Most of the students, yeah, they are biology majors or environmental studies. Um, it's really variable, but it's because we touch a bunch of different topics. Is more to come with an open brain, and because you will learn a lot. That's my impression.
yeah, I would say generally it's biology, environmental science, environmental studies. But because of the prerequisites where you only need 2 semesters of biology or related coursework, we'll get some students that are majoring in communications but are minoring in biology or something like that. And as long as you have the prerequisites to come down, then you can succeed in this program.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. Last call for questions. There's a few of you out there. Okay. All right. So thank you, Mauricio. Thank you, all the students for joining us here. I am going to, we did record this, so I'm going to post it either tomorrow or early next week. So be on the lookout for that in case you missed something. You can go back and listen to it again. As a reminder, if you're looking to participate in the upcoming spring semester, the absolute last day that we will accept applications is November 1st. So if you're thinking about applying, get started sooner rather than later. There also are scholarships available. So for scholarships, the sooner you apply, the greater your chances of receiving a scholarship. So questions regarding that, you can email me or undergraduate@tropicalstudies.org. And thanks for joining us. Thank you again, Mauricio.
You're welcome.
Stay dry in Costa Rica, and we'll talk to everybody very soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.